one more time. Yeah, Lord, deliver me. What? 'Cause all I seem to do is hurt me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. First of all, thank you so much for being a part of the Fantastic Father Fridays. I think it's very important to shine light on great fathers because, well, fathers are the foundation of the family. So I think without the fathers, it changes the dynamics of the household, which changes the dynamics of the community. There's so much. So this is why I think focusing on really great fathers and having highlighting great role models in the community is something that I have a passion for. So thank you so much for being a part of this.
No problem.
Can you tell me, my name is Tiffany, by the way.
Hello, Tiffany. I'm Pastor Jay.
So can you tell me a little bit about Pastor Jay before radio and then up until radio and now?
Okay, so I'm from Richmond, California. I grew up in Richmond most of my life until the great migration of everybody from the Bay Area going to this good old area code of 925. Went to Antioch High, graduated from Antioch High, started the first gospel choir, like an official class with credits at Antioch High. I was jealous because I think was it Dr. Stevenson or Dr. Henderson at Deer Valley had a whole gospel like choir, and I was like, man, why don't we have that at Antioch? And I just was led to do it. So I started a gospel choir. I would think it was 06. It was a joint venture with a dance team. We were just trying to show our own style of, things like that, which led totally by students, which was pretty dope about it, but with teachers signing off and giving classrooms and letting us be able to fundraise for the events that we were doing, putting us part with the concert. So if the dance had a concert, our dance team, it was called Ebony's Finest, got to dance at that concert.
Okay.
So it was pretty dope. And then the Ebony's Finest gospel singers, they were actually able to perform at all the winter concerts. So like the chorals will come out, and then Ebony's Finest pop out, bam, with some gospel. And we usually went over time because, I was really influenced by a lot of the musicians around Antioch, and I knew a lot of them because I sung at Antioch Church Family. So I knew a lot of musicians and singers, and I would bring them to the school, and they would play and sing, and we'd be in there almost about to start shouting. And then I get to look at one of the teachers, and he's like, "Okay, your segment been up," and I was like, "All right, let me stop." So
cool.
I started that. Was part of Antioch Church Family, and did a lot of time there. I went on my own. It was different. I didn't have parents forcing me. It was just kind of one of those times during my high school years. I was just saying, you know what, I need a change. Just need some type of change. And I got a lot of mentors and new family members out of the church, and we sung everywhere. I got tired of singing at places at times. We sung at the How Sweet the Sound, which was the biggest, I guess you could say, biggest event in my life in the beginning, kind of getting us and me in the entertainment business, where we got to meet, Raphael Sadiq and Tony, the rest of Tony, Lenny Williams at the Bay Area Black Music Awards at the Scottish Rites. We won that for Best Gospel in 2007. Then in 2008, we won Best Small Choir. So after that, it was just like game over. Every church wanted us. We were singing everywhere. It was on Comcast, on TV. We was going to awards. It was big. So it was kind of my introduction into the entertainment business. So music and singing has been a big impact in my life. It's kept me grounded, especially from starting from a young age. I started singing with that choir I want to say I was about 15. And last time singing with them, I think I was about 21.
Nice.
So I was with them for a while.
So you talk about staying grounded. How did you stay grounded and not lose sight of your actual purpose with everything that comes along with being a young Black male in California? Because there's so much
Ooh-wee.
access to so much stuff. You know, I'm from the Bay Area too. I went to El Cerrito High, so there's so much access. How did you stay on the? I'm not saying that you didn't stray, because everyone strays, but how did
Right.
you um, how did you come back? How did you come back to yourself if you
So
did stray?
I could say it simply like this, like my pastor would call me. I was the prodigal son. Soon as you said something, I'm off. I'm back in the world. And I felt like he timed it. He would be like, yep, he'll be back. And I'm back crying at the altar like, oh, Lord, I didn't mean it. You know, I had my moments. But it was just, I guess you could say it was a lot of growing and analyzing, what do I want for myself? You can tell people about all type of opportunities to better their lives, but until they want it. And I think that was what it was for me. I really saw, you know, especially when I was going through that period of time prior military, um, I just wanted something better, but I was still young. So
Yeah.
yes, like I tell everybody all the time, I turned up, I did all kind of things that young people did, but I still had the biggest goal in my head was to be stable, because a lot of things that I was surrounded by was unstable. You
Mm-hmm.
know, being here and have to move all the time, and I've probably lived in every city in the Bay Area except San Francisco. You know, constantly having to move, constantly not knowing what's coming up next. The safety issue, you know, it was a blessing for me to make it this long compared to what people spoke over my life years ago, because, you know, there's a lot of people that are not here that I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just one thing. It's just like, I wanted something more. I wanted something better. And I didn't want it just to be a dream, because there's a lot of dreamers, but not enough doers.
Yes.
So that was one of the biggest things I can say, is that I kept grounded. Obviously God, because God gave me a conscience. And a lot of times when you don't have a conscience, you do whatever. So I knew I could do so much until, like, it was just
Yeah.
like, I'd be like, no, I can't do that. I just don't feel right.
Yeah.
And then if I did get past that point, God will whoop me, and I would go and go through the whole point of like, man, I should never did it. You know, the old folks just call it sin sick. You know, when you just feel so bad and sick and down, and you're like, oh Lord, and they're like, you just sitting sick. You just go sit down somewhere. And that was what kind of kept me, I guess you could say, leveled, especially because at a young age I started making a lot of money. Nothing illegal, everybody. I started getting into IT, and I was working in Wells Fargo corporate doing IT. So at 19, I had the BMW, I had my own house, was making decent money, didn't know how to save, partied every Friday. Every Friday was a party. And I just was immature in that moment. So even though I was getting all these blessings, I really didn't take care of it. So when the recession hit, I lost everything.
Yeah.
I was homeless at that moment. I was sleeping in my little Honda car that I got from taxes. I'll never forget that, because that's my humble beginnings compared to where I am now. Because that was my time of really talking with God, like, man, I can't even buy a cheeseburger if I wanted to. So God really kind of sat with me. I made a decision to join the U.S. Army, and everywhere I went, I couldn't leave music. We used to have radio hour, and we would just be singing songs in the barracks at nighttime. And when church came, I was most excited, because I would organize church, because I missed the church atmosphere. So I would organize church, and I got a whole bunch of singers, and we had a whole choir. We had people that knew how to play the piano. We had worship leaders. We had all this in a
So
little
you've been
quarter boat
organizing forever.
for a minute. I actually got a coin from the colonel of the base, and he was like, "Wow, I've never been to a Sunday service like this one, where everybody just does not know each other, but they came together and made a service like they've been together for years." So I was like, you know, that was just my heart. And the chaplain even that said, you know, you have great leadership qualities, and I was just like, man, I like music. I just
Yeah.
need it. It's that cope. You know, when you put your earphones in and get on BART, those were my best days. You could be able to think and write and do all kind of things like that. So that was during the military time. I got out and I started doing some background singing, and I sung for Rick Stevens from Tower of Power. Um, I still couldn't get away from the music bug. I just was like, music. I'd have to do some music. And then I was the worship leader for Dave Hollister at Worship Assembly, and in the beginning stages of Antioch Worship Assembly campus. So I just couldn't get away from it. I just needed to keep singing and just using my gift. And then I finally accepted the call, which I ran from for years, to become a minister, because I was happy just being the worship leader or the minister of music, just sit somewhere and just worship. I think that was my main goal, but God saw fit to have more on my life. So I accepted the calling, started ministering in 2013, back in Oakley, California. I was under Ebenezer Community Church, Pastor Anadelli, Babatunde Anadelli, and he was my youth pastor. So it was kind of funny that I ended up going back to his church. And
You always go back home.
You always do. So, I started ministering and preaching at different churches, and then God saw fit to bring me to Las Vegas. I did not want to come to Las Vegas, but God really put on my heart. Actually, no, I challenged God, and that's the worst thing to do. I said, he told me to come to Vegas, start a church, and just bring my ministry here. And I was just like, go to Sin City? No, I don't want to do that. Well, I said, well, I have a good job in San Francisco, and I got this little house in Antioch. I'm doing rent to own.
Yeah.
and I'm investing in this house. I'm good. And then he went quiet on me. When God ever goes quiet on you, he's just going to show you. So I lost that job in San Francisco, and I found out my house that I was renting, they weren't paying the bank, and it was in foreclosure. And then my cousin comes and says, hey, you still trying to move to Vegas? Usually you got an excuse. Oh, I got to go to work. I got to get up in the morning.
Yeah.
I had none of that. I was like, I guess so. So I came out here saying, I'm going to just come out here for a week. And I ended up never leaving. Yeah, I never came back.
So you talk about basically having your own plan. You had your job. You were comfortable. And then God catapulted you somewhere else that you didn't necessarily want to be, right?
Right.
A lot of times I wonder if people get stuck in the downtime when God shifts us, and then we don't know exactly, we can't hear him anymore, because at one point his voice was real clear, and then, like you said, he gets silent for a while. And I feel like that's when so many people go stray, because they're not sure anymore of direction, or, am I doing the right thing? Because I think as humans, we sometimes look for validation of like, this is the right way, or this is the wrong way, because, you're going to get chastised if this is the wrong way. And if it's the right way, somebody's going to applaud you. But if no one's saying nothing, then it's like, or like how you said, you had your life planned pretty much, you were working, things were going good. And then all of a sudden you lost your job. Like, people question those times. And they try.
Well, I did.
Yeah.
I'm going to just put it like that.
Let's talk about that.
So I questioned every part of it. I tried everything to prevent it. And thank God I just went with the flow, because when I got to Vegas, everybody, oh my goodness, and they mama said, you crazy for going out there. You have no job lined up. You leading your family astray. And I was like, no, but God keeps just telling me about this Vegas thing. And the crazy thing is, when I came, let me stop saying crazy. I don't like that word. The amazing thing that I saw was, as soon as I came to Vegas, I got 3 jobs off bat. Mind you, I've been off work since I got let go at my previous job. As soon as I get to Vegas, bam, 3 jobs. So I'm like, okay. So I got to stay here. I got to go to work now.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine has a grandfather who owned 3 properties that we never even knew. So it was like God was setting things up in the background, because his property he had had a tenant that just left. So his grandfather was like, y'all can stay there, just, fix and paint the house and lay some floor, and y'all can stay in there and figure out y'all next move. So we had somewhere to stay, we had jobs, and it was really no excuse. And one thing it was kind of I guess you could say a trying time, because my faith was tested, because every day I would say, God, guide my feet, because I never knew where my next meal was. I mean, I was pretty broke when I came here. And I just kept saying, because it says in Proverbs that if you make the plans, God will order your steps. So I said, okay, if you order my steps, guide my feet to who I need to talk to, guide my feet to the opportunities, guide my feet to where you want me to go, so that I'm not walking outside your will, because I can't go backwards, because I only got one plan, and that's plan A, and there's no plan B. So I kept doing that, just kept elevating. Eventually, I rented my first home, bigger, the same amount I was paying in California. I was paying for a 5-bedroom house here, and I was like, okay, that's no brainer. And it was like, wow, this is an upgrade. Then finally, I ended up getting to a point where I was able to buy my own home, brand new. I was like, okay, God, I see it. I'm faithful.
I see
You
you
throwing
working.
things out there. I can't deny it no more. Anybody tripping, I'm gonna be like, they tripping, God, I got you. And then eventually getting to radio, because during the time, and I've been here for 5 years, so during the beginning times of being in Vegas, I was not in the music scene. I kind of took a break. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do music. I was an R&B singer. How am I gonna be a gospel singer? This is different. And I said, but I love music. I can't get away. Music is in my bones.
Yeah.
And I was driving a school bus. I was doing driving school buses for the school district to get into the district. And every time I played gospel music, the kids would calm down. They would do their homework. There was no fighting, no cussing, no nothing. It was just peace on the bus, the whole ride to school, the whole ride back. It was just like, it was a calm. I said, man, God, I wish that there was a radio station that had gospel 24/7. And God simply said, well, make it. I said, man, God, there you go. There you go again. Because how am I going to make I don't know nothing about radio. You're going to have to do it if you're going to, have to have this door open. I don't understand how to do it. So as soon as I get home from work, I see on Facebook, local station saying, hey, we're looking for new radio ideas. I was like, okay.
You don't have no choice now.
All right. Same day. He didn't miss a beat. So I said, all right, cool. So I went and I put out Anointed Radio. Actually, Anointed Radio came from, I was recording my first gospel song. And it wasn't really my song. I was just doing Anointing Fall on Me. I sung that back home and I recorded it. And I said, I had to record that song. So it was stuck in my head. So I was like, Anointed. And I was like, radio. That's the name, Anointed Radio Show. So we started off, it was a Sunday show it was a secular network. So they had everything and every type of topic. But on Sunday, we were that change that brought gospel, because at first that station never played gospel. But once Anointed Radio got there, they actually played gospel all Sunday. So I said, oh, we made some type of change.
Mm-hmm.
But then that network ended up shutting down. So I had to be on the scramble. And I'm like, all right, I'm 6 months into a new, brand new radio show. I've been had Sean Porter, Junior from the Steve Harvey Morning Show, Jacayla Carr. I've had all these people on. I can't build the momentum and be like, oh, we done.
And then stop it.
Right. So I found another network. It was in the Art District by Fremont Street in Las Vegas, Gorilla Cross. They do Christian hip hop, but they didn't have a gospel segment. So we were there for 6 months. So my first year was going through different media outlets, but we kept growing. We kept expanding. And then eventually God opened the doors for us to have our own studio. And I was like, okay, now this is independent. And this is where I eventually wanted to go. So a good friend of mine said, oh, I have a doctor's office and you could use the office for your studio, and I won't charge. I'll charge you what you're getting charged at the station. I was like, what? Okay,
Man.
can't deny that. So I went, and the station I was with, he was already saying, "Oh, I'm tired of getting up on Sunday at 6 o'clock for your show." I said, "All right, it's cool. This will be our last show, and we're gonna end up going on our own." So we went on our own, and it just blew up. We have the Anointed radio app with 24-hour gospel, all gospel, Christian hip hop, Christian reggae, Hillsong, everything to kind of brighten everybody's day. And we had at one moment 20 shows. We still have Cheryl Underwood every Friday with Spiritual Nourishment, then my show on Wednesday. So it really just blew up. And I said, okay, I know all these artists. I'm knowing all these managers. I know all these actors. I know all these people in the entertainment world. So why don't I have an album? Why do I not have a single?
Yeah.
So I came and I met up with the amazing producer, one of my frat brothers, Mo Danger, who was the musical director of Justin Timberlake. And we came up with a song, my very first song that I did that I was proud of, called Jesus, You Make Me Happy. So Jesus, You Make You Happy came out. It was a spin-off of I forgot the name of the old song. So it's an old song, darling, you can make me
Oh, yes.
happy. So I swapped it. I said, okay, I like that, and I'm going to
Yeah.
change it up to worship God. And it was during a time where I was going through some things, kind of like that mid-mountain moment before you get to the mountaintop moment. And I was just like, all right, Jesus, you make me happy. Jesus, you make me. Okay, cool. So I recorded that, started singing that, and I actually got a few awards and a lot of nominations for that song. And then this year, I was going to hit him over the head for Stellars. I was like, bow
He was
in
like, I was
Stellars.
ready. I was
I'm
ready. Then
ready for
COVID.
Stellars. I was hosting 2 shows here in Las Vegas, pre-shows before the Stellars. I was performing at a few churches at events for Stellars, and then COVID. Oh, I actually no. What hurt my heart is I was hosting at the M Hotel an after party for the Stellars
Oh, no.
to celebrate one of my co-hosts that's turning 55. So we're gonna have a birthday celebration, but like a wind down after the Stellar Awards.
Yeah.
Invite all the artists to come out. But nope,
I got different plans, though.
I know.
You
And
know?
then I still was like, I prolonged my song because I was like, oh, well, I'm not performing it anymore. But then God was like, no, go ahead and do it. So I came out with a new song, which is at 110,000 streams on Spotify, Renew My Praise.
Okay,
And
I'm about to look it up right now because we're gonna get you up some more streams. Hold on.
yes, Renew My Praise. Everybody go check that out. And Jesus, You Make Me Happy. That's that groove right there. A lot of my friends love Jesus, You Make Me Happy. That's that fun. I want to dance. That's gospel. Yes, it's gospel at the same time. So I was able to bring life experiences and prayers into song and lyrics. So that's the cool part about it. So I've done that. Now it's just maintaining, just maintaining everything. I'm working on some big stuff in the background for Anointed Radio expansion, where we're going to be getting more in the music side. And it's really going to be big, partnering with a real big name, but I can't say it until we get ink and paper.
No, don't say nothing. Don't say nothing until it happens.
Exactly.
Got it.
And I'm working on the remix of Jesus, You Make Me Happy. No, I want to do that one, but I think God's leading me to do Renew My Praise, since that's really, that was my prayer during COVID.
Okay.
There's a lot of people losing faith. There's a lot of people that's going through stuff, seeing death,
Yes.
sickness, and that prayer that I did for Renew My Praise was like, all right, I'm done, God. I need some type of thing to make me feel that praise, because praise is thanking God for the things that He's done. Worshiping is really just loving God and having that relationship with Him. And it's a worship song, but it's really kind of saying, I need that praise again. I need to be able to say, thank God I got this, or but
Mhm.
God turned it around, or I made it through 2020. How about you guys? Things like that is why I made Renew My Praise, so that people could know that, you receive not because you ask not.
Yeah.
So Renew My Praise, everybody. It's on all digital platforms. And Jesus, You Make Me Happy is on all digital platforms. Go download it. And make sure you you can check me out every Wednesday on Anointed Radio, and download the Anointed Radio app for 24-hour gospel. If you're tired of the radio and all the foolishness that you hear, go ahead and download the Anointed Radio app, 24-hour gospel. And you can hear my show on every podcast platform, subtitled because Jay-Z be hating. But that's a different story.
So we talk about coping. What are some coping strategies you talk to your, what do we call your church? Yes, we just say church, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are coping
Church or
strategies?
audience or just friends.
Yeah.
The way I would just say for that is learning how to love yourself. That's a big coat that a lot of people miss out. They
Mm-hmm.
give out love, but don't give back love. And COVID taught me how to really better me. Some of the things, the hustle and bustle. I always wanted to be in the entertainment business, and then now I'm just like, man, that takes a lot. It's routine. You eventually,
Yep.
like, I was at the NAACP Awards before Stellar, and I planned on being at Stellar. I planned on being at this award in Louisiana, this award in Ohio,
And
and it's like
all the
it's a
going, going,
constant.
going.
And then, of course, we have, great representation here in Las Vegas of different churches and choirs and artists and singers and conferences and all that. And now that you see with COVID, it's nothing. Where it's to the point where God is saying, sit down and analyze, what are you missing in your life? What are you truly lacking in? Because when you look at that, think about, maybe you're not having enough time for yourself, or maybe it's going to a first love. My first love was poetry. I loved writing poetry, and when I would have something in my mind, I would just jot it down. It went from journaling to poetry, and then eventually poetry to lyrics and music. And it's just, you have to find what helps you balance, because a lot of people are unbalanced because they don't know themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the great thing about God. I always try to tell people, I don't know why people be tripping about God, because I'm like, God loved you even when you don't love yourself.
Yes.
He deals with you. He deals with your mess, with your habits, with your headstrongness, with your pride, with your unforgiving heart. And he constantly deals with you, and he be like, you done yet? I'm here. We
Yep.
cool? Can we talk? All right, so this is where you need to start at, because a lot of people are taking off branches, but they're not taking the roots up, and they wonder why the branches keep popping up. Especially because one thing, and I promote this: mental health is real. So
Yes.
get a therapist, go talk to somebody. And
Yes.
if you don't have the vibe like this person is helping you, he just want to dope you up, then that's not the person to be with. Um, with me, for my preference, I like having someone that is spiritual, that knows about God. Because then if I'm saying God told me to do this, they're not going to look at me like, he hears voices.
Right.
Let's go ahead and dope him up right quick. No, but it's serious, because one thing my therapist has told me is that anger is your greatest teacher, because anger shows you where you're weak,
Yeah.
shows you what you're lacking in, especially when it comes down to the point of everyday situations. Why do you get angry so fast? And then what do we do? One thing that I've came to say a lot, I don't believe there is an actual, how can I say this in the right phrase? I don't believe that bipolar, the word bipolar, I believe that is a word that doctors have put up to just dope and give sedatives to people. I believe that bipolar is called, the true word of bipolar is mental suppression. Mental suppression of the things that bother you. So the fakeness, being around the people that that irritate you, and you never speak
Mm-hmm.
on it. And then guess what? One day there's going to be that little trigger, that pokes you right there and you can't hold it no more and you flash. Now everybody
Yeah.
think you're crazy now.
Yeah.
But they didn't know that you've had all this stuff deep down, just building up because, you know, you've suppressed it. Either suppressed it with weed, or you suppressed it with drinking, you suppressed it with pills, you just suppressed it with sex, you suppressed it with any type of habit that could be able to make you not think of it. And I think that's one of the biggest teachers that we have to look at is what's one of the weaknesses that really been holding me back that I've just kind of tiptoed around. And that's what God is really, when you're sitting in a room by yourself, you got to look at the man and woman in the mirror. There's nobody else you could blame. And a lot of people get scared in those moments. I've done a lot of suicide awareness where I'm saying that that's not the moment where you think it's it. Because I could tell you in the Bible, there's scripture, Jeremiah 29:11, where he says, I have no evil intent for you. I have hope, joy in the future. He means that he has hope that you can make out of the day. He has joy that's coming in the morning. Every day, he's got some hope and joy for you, right? But the future part is what's going to be able to give you a promise, because God never backs down out of a promise. If he promised you a future, that means you have a future. That means there's days that you have not lived that's to come. So those are the things that I tell people in this moment, come out of it stronger, not weaker, because you really don't have anybody. You can turn social media off. Social media is so fake. That's not real.
Oh my
It's not
gosh,
real.
man. I
I
talk
just gonna
about
put it
this
out there.
all the time. And I feel like, so something I feel, and I stress a lot to people is don't allow social media to dictate your timetable in life. And
Right.
don't allow it to dictate your life. Because I feel a lot of people, especially now that we're in COVID, we're so consumed by, you know, Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat, because there's not as much to do if you're not like, you know, actively working, an entrepreneur or something like that.
Right.
Then you have so much more time to just scroll. And as you're scrolling, you're seeing all these beautiful photos and all of these perfect place lives. And you don't see any of the crap that comes with those beautifully placed photos, or the screaming mama at the kids to get them to stand perfectly right. But in the comments, you go down and you see goals, 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 goals.
And a lot of people got to watch out what they want to put as goals, because a lot of people, I'm actually going to work on this book. It's called Don't Limit Me with Your Unrealistic Expectations.
Yes.
So I'm working on that. That's going to come out probably next year, because I have a whole lot of other stuff, but that's just a sneak peek, y'all. So a lot of times we put these expectations on people that's not realistic. And that's another reason why a lot of us go through a lot of mental issue stuff too, because we expect, well, you my mama, so I saw on TV a mama's supposed to act like this. Well, I saw on social media this father is supposed to be like this. And no one has the perfect recipe. And what happens is, because you're hurt, you cause a generational curse that you pass down to your own kids, because you're still hurt from the expectation being let down. Now you're putting it on your kids because you're still hurt people, hurt other people. So it's you put, and even as much as you don't want to be like that person that hurt you. I've heard it in years about, oh, that person did me this back in the day, but you end up just like them because you suppress things and you follow the same recipe of destruction just like they did. So you have to get to a point where you're like, all right, I'm not going to put an expectation on. I'm going to just deal with what I have and what is real to me right now. You know, because a lot of us we love to lie because we lie to ourselves, and then eventually we just keep lying, and we be like, yeah, you remember that? You're like, that never happened before, but you're like, yeah, I remember that. Sometimes we just do that because we want people to be quiet, but still, it turns into a mental illness where people lie so much to themselves because they're trying to keep up either with an unrealistic expectation or this fantasy of how it was, but it really wasn't.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's in this time where we have to get to a moment with ourselves and be like, all right, that was fake, that was real, and take that mask off, because we all, you know, I've been in church a while. I'm not a church person. I wasn't fully raised. I went on my own in the
Yeah.
teenage years, so I missed some of the little sunshine moments where I'm supposed to act right, because I'm probably a very radical person out of a lot of preachers that you probably will know. But the main thing is, you never sit here and lie, because when God said, "Come as you are," meaning not clothes. I love how people love to just simply, well, I'm gonna
Put
come
it on
how I
clothes.
am. That's what. No, come as you are. If you got homosexual tendency, come as you are. If you have some suicidal thoughts, come as you are. Don't come here and be because
Yes.
God can't fix nothing that you won't give up. A lot of us are like, well, hold on, let me dig through this bag of stuff I got. And okay, well,
Here, I'll
I
give you
don't like
this.
my anger. I kind of do though, so I need that back. Because we become Indian givers, and we say,
Yeah.
it says to cast your cares and anxieties on to the throne for God to take them, right? But at the end of the day, we end up going back. And I learned this from someone who wasn't even in church, but it made so much sense. A lot of times we go back to pick something up, and we picked up something that somebody else dropped off, and then wonder why we got this new habit. And be like,
Man.
why am I just went back for anger. Now I got lust. I
Yeah.
went back for the lust. Now I got suicidal tendencies. Where is these things coming from? And we keep holding on to them, saying, well, I'm working on it, but you're really not. And that's the lying part that we have to get out of. And that's how you stay centered, to go full circle back into the coping mechanism. The best way you could cope is by learning how to love yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you don't love yourself, you'll never make a standard. You'll never put yourself at the place you're supposed to be. You'll never know your worth. So you'll just let people treat you the way that you feel like you should be treated. And a lot of times it's not the best.
Yes. So we talk about loving yourself. Now, I always tell people, well, my important thing is, because I've been married 15 years, and so I always hear people talk about, oh, somebody completes me. And I'm like, I don't think that was God's intent. I believe that you were supposed to be complete before you come together. It's supposed to be two complete people coming together to make one whole. So then that way, if one
And
person
let me
is
talk about that.
like,
I want to talk about that. I love that. So we were a whole person before you get married with somebody.
mm-hmm,
And that's where you have to stop, because it even happens in Christianity, where people have Christian codependency. Well, my husband is a preacher, so I'm a Christian as long as we good. Well, that's not how it works. It's all based, even like I said, with Christian codependency, and even in marriage, it shouldn't be a dependency. It should be a partnership. It's a
mm-hmm.
teamwork that comes together. And when you think about it, so let's go back into history. All right, so two people make one. What is the one? Obviously, you and your husband y'all can't turn into a Power Ranger and become this one being. What it's talking about is bloodline. That's why I never understood the word bastard. A lot of people take that as a bad word, but you have to understand the meaning of it and how it still has a lot of meaning to this day.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell a lot of people, especially young people, you scared of marriage, but you're not scared of having a baby. That's super backwards,
Oh,
because you
oh my
have to
God, let's
look at it
talk
like
about it.
this. I have to say,
Let's
you
talk
got to look
about
at it
it.
like this. When you get married, you're making a promise. But when you consummate your marriage, you're making a bloodline that lasts forever. Meaning that it's not something that you gonna be like, well, it felt good, I made a baby. Well, we together, but we not together. No, it doesn't make sense, because first of all, there's a whole bunch of soul ties that ties
Yes.
to that.
So
Then
talk
then I
about
gotta
it.
add on to this part. Then I have to add on to this. Your child is always your child, no matter if you're married or not. So that means you grandpa or you grandma with attitude at birthday parties for your
Mm-hmm.
grandchild, because no matter if you married to somebody else, and no matter if you felt like, well, this was just a phase in my early years, you're still tied to that person. You're more married having a child with somebody
Yes.
than what you are with just a ring, because that ring, we already see that could go down to the court, and God's gonna be like, man, I
Be over.
told y'all not to do this. I told y'all not to get divorced, but if y'all gonna do it, you know, there's called redemption. You know, God's
Yep.
not going to hold things, especially if you're in a toxic relationship that's not going to benefit you and they're not lifting you more towards God. Because that's the whole reason that you're supposed to pray and then enjoy your marriage and then go
Yes.
back to prayer. It says that in the Bible that you should schedule some time as a couple for praying and worshiping God for your marriage, because a lot of people go to God to get married but never go back to him for the problems.
Yeah. Yep. And then that's the breakdown. Then we have the breakdown of the family and the
And breakdown about, I have to say about the bastard word, because I hated that word, because I was called it by family members and I said I don't like that word, and I had to understand it. So bastard meant that you were not a legitimate child of a married couple.
right.
So what that means today, and this is now still today, I know that's an old term word, but you gotta still think about this today. So I am a child that was made out of wedlock. My siblings that were not made out of wedlock. The legal law still to this day says that the kids that were from a marriage has more rights to that parent than I do,
Say
because
what?
I was not made in a marriage.
I've
That's
never
where the
even.
word bastard comes from.
I
Even
mean,
the
I knew
state.
it's a word. Well, okay. So I think growing a bastard always was more like they didn't have the dad. The dad wasn't around or something like that.
Right.
People kind of made that insinuation, right? But then I never looked at it like, oh, if you had a child out of wedlock, then legally the kids in wedlock have more rights to the
So
parents. Like,
so if it came down to it, and obviously there's always fights for estates when people pass away or gets really really sick.
hmm
My siblings that their mother married my father has more rights than I do.
oh yeah, you know what? Okay. So my brother always felt that way about me because my dad married my mother but didn't marry my brother. I have two brothers, but they have two different moms. And so my dad didn't marry their moms, but he married my mom. And my brother told me when we got older that he always felt that because my dad married my mother, that I had a better relationship. And I always was like,
And this and the sad part about legally, you can show legitimacy of how your father was married to your mother. That paper never goes away.
yeah,
That's how we go on Ancestry and find out who auntie is, by marriage certificate, death certificates, and things like that. And a lot of people have to understand, especially young people, you don't want to get to a point where if you die, that your child that was not in a marriage is left out, because the child that was in marriage could be able to claim it all.
dang, and then those are things that we never talk about.
No, because a lot of times when you talk about it, well, first of all, because I was in insurance, and that's how I really kind of found all this stuff out. Because first of all, they freeze your assets when you die. So now people with legal claim have to actually come forward. And that's what it breaks down to. Percentages, it breaks down to, okay, you're the son, but the sister mom actually married him. Your mom never did. Now she has more legitimate rights to things compared to what I have, unless you have a will. But knowing our culture, unfortunately, we
Not
never
that
leave
many.
wills or
Yeah.
trusts. Usually we don't leave a will, we leave a bill.
Yep.
We partied until the wheels fell
Yep.
off.
Yep. Yes, we did.
So
Okay,
that
so
is,
when we talk about because I still want to get into like fatherhood, but we talk about soul ties. Um, and I don't think we can move on to fatherhood without talking about the soul ties, because I think people move on to relationship after relationship collecting bodies. And then they wonder why the relationship that they want to be in doesn't work out. Um,
right.
how do you talk to people about soul ties? Because when I try to break it down, people are like, "You're tripping. It's not that deep." Like,
Okay, soul ties. Let me break it down Barney style, like it was broken down to me in I want to say I went to a little church retreat. I was 12. I didn't go to church, but I went to the retreats because it was fun and they had girls there. So when I went to the retreat, they broke it down like this. It was a youth pastor. I'll never forget about it. He said, soul tie is mostly like this. When you have intercourse with somebody, they are tied to you. And I was like, tied? He said, now watch this. So if you be around somebody, that habit of theirs, that mentality of theirs. See, when you become husband and wife, you see a lot of things where eventually y'all feel like y'all been family forever because a lot of similarities start and influence either or. That's a soul tie. Well, I'll give you an example of a soul tie before marriage for myself. And I dated with somebody and I was intimate with them. We was a church relationship, but we was kids. And,
right? It
and
happens.
that battle is real. So
Yes.
what happened was, in that relationship, a lot of stuff that I didn't do, I ended up starting doing. Like a good example was cussing. I wasn't a big cusser. I could break you down with real dictionary words compared to going to the lowest form and just cussing somebody out. And then eventually, after time going by, I started cussing more than the person. Because a lot of times you have to realize that spirits jump on each other.
Mm-hmm.
They don't just sit on one person like, oh, that's it.
Yep.
No, they'll jump on you too. And that soul tie is something that will last with you. That's why you have to watch, who you are messing with intimately, because you never know what that effect might have on your life. And one thing that I can say, because a lot of people, I've heard of this conversation as well. Well, I keep going from person to person. I keep attracting the wrong person. I said, well, the only person that's the common denominator is you. So at the end of the day, you have to make a decision on what you like about you. You see, a lot of people are so worried about what people like about them and qualification. No, if you don't like yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you don't love yourself, you can't make it. So all you're going to do is mess with all these people that's going to get this, I guess you could say, this residue on you. I could break it down better, that you're going to get habits and attitudes and ways that was never you before, but now it is you, because you've let that just come and infiltrate your spirit, infiltrate your mind, your heart. It's just rooted in there. And now you got some cleaning to do. A lot of times when I tell people, if they're going to break up, if you ever go into a breakup, use this time to heal and recover. It's like surgery. When you have surgery, you have to have time for recovery. A lot of times they say skip recovery. They go back into something head first and then end up being worse than what they were previously. And they keep going because a lot of people don't know how to deal with themselves.
Yep.
If you have a problem looking at yourself in the mirror, then you have a problem with yourself. And like Cat Williams said, it's a self-esteem, esteem of yourself.
Yes.
Nobody could build it up but you. So that's
That's
the
so
biggest
important.
thing when it comes down to soul ties. Yeah, you could keep adding bodies, but you're going to keep adding things. And then hopefully it's not anything that's deadly or bad debt. Let's talk about that. I think a lot of things as adults that no one ever said was, take care of your debt and make sure that the significant other or the person you're dating has good credit.
Yeah.
Like, there's a whole lot of things that you have to see that where you want to go and where this person is leading you. So if the person's not, my big thing is if the person's not leading you to Christ, they obviously don't have enough morals to say, I'm going to treat you right.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times it's going to be about them. Then it's going to become narcissistic and it's going to be toxic. If someone's leading you to God, which is usually selfless, because they're like, I'm leading you to God to better you because I want you to be the best person you could be, because that's all I could do for myself is be the best person I can be. So together we can win as one team, compared to someone being a superstar and everybody else is just a subject.
Mm-hmm. So when we go into relationships and then we go into fatherhood, how do you think that the relationship with the mother contributes to the dynamics of the relationship with the father and child?
It's a different. So one thing I always going to take it back to the Bible, but I always think about something. If you look at back in the day, Adam was a provider, but Eve was a maintainer. And if you still go back to now, men are providers. They provide a seed, but a woman is able to maintain that seed to be able to make it into life. A man is a provider. He'll make sure that everything is good, but he provides security. What does that mean? Most people that missed out on having that father figure feel abandoned, rejected, or feel like they are insecure because they don't have that security of someone saying, you know what, you are enough. You know what, you are pretty. You know, you are man enough to do that. You got that. You know, from the father's side, it's not as much as the mother's. The mother's side, they maintain hearts. Guys can't do that. We'd be like, man up, you good. But you're able to show a sense of security where if you look at a daughter that's raised without a father compared to a daughter that's raised with a father, a daughter with a father is more secure. Like, man, I don't need you to tell me nothing. And if you look at most stories of people that went astray and had horrible life stories, they're saying, well, I didn't have my father in the house. He was either locked up or my father was missing or Papa was a Rolling Stone and all this. And I didn't get the security. And then what I start looking for is someone that wasn't, I guess you could say, that could mount up to a father, but didn't have the right qualities. Because as soon as the first person to say, oh, this young lady is pretty, they ran. Oh, I'm pretty? Because they never heard that before. Oh, you think I'm more? That's one thing that a father could do, is can ensure that the daughter has security. So there's no insecurities. There would be no show insecure if there was more fathers out there, because they would be so secure in themselves. Like, I know I'm pretty. I know I'm smart. I know this. What can you, like I tell my daughter this all the time. You don't want a man. Oh, no, I said backwards. You don't need a man. You would want one. You want companionship. You don't need nobody but God.
Yep.
But you want companionship. That's a difference, because when you want one, it's not dictated. There's no type of like, well, I got to give up. No, it's a want. It's just like, if I want some ice cream, if I think that's too much for that ice cream, I'm gonna be like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I just wanted it. I don't need it, but I just wanted it. That's the same thing with relationship with young ladies, with fathers. Now going to the, I guess you could say, to the father-son relationship. Seeing an example is 100% the biggest influence that a young man can see. Influence of, how do you treat a woman? How do you provide for a house? How do you take care of yourself? How do you present yourself? What authority do you speak with? That's a whole different animal. There's a lot of people that, are not raised with a man, that they don't know how to be a father. They don't know how to be a husband. First of all, let's break that down. A lot of young men can't say, well, I've seen husbands, when a lot of, especially my generation, grew up with, well, that was my mama baby daddy.
Yeah.
I know how to be a baby daddy.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to be a husband. I don't know how to be a father in the standpoint of, being there and teaching them this and that, if you've never seen it. Now you're going off of what is the song about Uncle Phil, J. Cole, when he talked about rest in peace, Uncle Phil. Because that's probably a lot of father figure mentality that we, as my generation, saw. Like, man, that's a dad right there. Like, he got on people, but he really loved his kids. He helped them. He was a man of his word. And see, that's what a lot of young men look at. And if you don't have that, exactly, and you'll find some influence somewhere. And if you don't have that influence, it's very easy to be persuaded to do a lot of things that you wouldn't do in the right mind if you had that influence of a father. Even Lil Bootsy, with his crazy self, said he knew how far he could go, because he knew that if he did too much, his father would get in that behind. That's just that accountability, that knowing I got from right from wrong, and having some type of morals, no matter what kind of life you stray in as an adult. but you still always have that teaching where you're like, nah, that's too much. Oh, no, I would never do that.
Yeah.
So the father plays a big part of providing that security, while the mother maintains the heart of the children to be able to know that it's okay to love, it's okay to have compassion. Yes, it's loving fathers, but I don't think we do real well. Well, I speak for self. I don't know about anybody else. Do real well with the whole emotion thing, because usually we're the ones that say, "Hey, you crying? It's all right. Wipe your eyes. Let's go. You want some ice cream? You want some milk?" Those are the things as a father for me, because if two people crying and nobody gonna be okay. If the mama crying, the daddy crying. Have you ever seen a kid when they fall? And I learned that having twins. When one child fell, you don't sit there. You be like,
Like nothing
and that
happened.
child just sits there. That child just like, am I good? And you be
Yeah.
like, you all right?
Are
Get
you?
up. Get up. You all right? You bleeding? No. Okay. You want some ice cream? See, I'm telling you, ice cream works for most childhood. Anybody that's trying to understand how to be a father with multiple kids, ice cream works for
Ice
yourself
cream is the
and for the
trick.
kids. They'll forget everything. You be like, you want some ice cream? Okay. What you was watching on YouTube? Okay, let's watch YouTube. So yeah,
So
it's
what?
very important for a father to bring security in the household, and it's not just security as protection, which is
Yes.
needed, but security in knowing that you're secure in yourself, of knowing who you are.
So how important is it for you to have cut out time for you and your girls? Because life is busy. Even though now in COVID, you still probably have a lot on your schedule, a lot of things to do. But what are some things that you enjoy doing with your girls just to have fun and like have that bonding time?
So I have one girl, because you keep saying girls. I'm like, are you speaking something over my life? I have one daughter and two boys, but over my daughter, the spend time with my daughter time is just chilling. She's a preteen now, so just being in her world. She's a
Yeah.
drawer. Look at her drawings.
Oh,
Um,
she's into art too. That's cool. I have a 13-year-old. She's into art too.
yeah, she's about to be 12. She's in art. And just investing that time of knowing that if she wants to do it, I'm there. So like I was going to get her a booth at the Comic-Con here in Vegas so that she could sell her paintings. We go to Kiko's and sell her paintings just to kind of show her the confidence of, oh, people like it. And oh,
Hmm.
if I wanted to make this into a lifestyle. What does that do with the afro that looks like the guy who sings? What is that guy? Bobby Colwell, the guy who looked like Bobby Colwell. That's a painter. I can't
Oh,
remember his name.
I know who you're talking about. And he
And
used to be on the show, on the, I think it's like KQED,
yeah,
right? And he did all the paintings,
he did all the
have
paintings. Like
his
she loves
little,
him. I just bought his 35th or something anniversary book for her. Who was going to frame it because I told her it's going to be worth something later on. But just doing those gestures of things that they like with my boys, they like video games. So if I just sit down and play a video game with them, they're juiced for the whole time. Um, uh-oh.
uh-oh. Okay.
All right, there we go. Resume to question of what you were saying.
Um, Darn. What was I saying? Oh, okay. So with having the boys, what are the things that you said video games with the boys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you guys do video games, and then with your daughter, you do art and stuff like that. So
Right.
how old are your boys?
They're 8.
They're 8, and then your daughter is 12. So
Correct.
how is that difference with parenting a girl and then 2 younger boys? Have you found there was a difference
Oh,
becoming a
it's
dad to a daughter and then dad to 2 boys?
Girls need attention. Boys just want food. I'm gonna just simply say it as simple as it goes. But then, as a lot of boys go through a lot of how to deal with emotions. So there's a lot of times where I have to sit with my son and tell him about anger and tell him about how to control the anger and not letting people get to you and things like that. The stuff that you have to really implement so that they can have those life skills. So when they get older, they're not just going to go off on somebody, but
Yeah.
just to know those life skills of learning how to not be angry, how to count things and let things brush off. Those type things is the main things that I teach my sons in those times. That makes it a difference with my daughter. My daughter wants to know everything under the sun. So I just simply just keep, like I said, I keep it 100. I'm like, hey, you want me to keep it 100? You want me to be fake right now? And usually it's to keep it 100 where we're just talking about life, about boys, and especially because now she's in that boy phase. And it's just,
Yeah.
it's just being that parent that I wanted to see, so that when high school does come, which is coming, it's not far away, that there's no secrets. They could be like, you know what, Dad, I was going through this and this will happen. They're like, you want me to be real with you? You want me to be fake with you? Which one you want?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the main thing between the difference of the two. I feel like from the boys compared to my daughter does a lot of things where she needs to hear your opinion and hear your thoughts, so that it's actually drawn out and written out, so that everything makes sense to her. And that's what most girls do. They want your attention. They want to be under you. They want to know about stuff. Boys, I'm telling you, you feed them, give them something, toys, game, whatever. Especially because I have twins, so they play with each other. So it's just knowing each child, because all children are not the same. Even if you have twins, I have twins and they're identical and they're totally two different boys. They all have different strengths and weaknesses. You just have to know where to come in, and like those good old days when there was the good grandmothers and grandfathers that would be like, "Oh, come on, baby, I'll come help you out. I'm there. I might fuss at you this whole time, but I'm here to help you out." So those are the main thing I would say as being a father to a daughter and a son, sons, that you have to really just know your child and really be there when they need. I guess you could say when it's needed. And to show structure, because every child, I don't care what nobody says, you can say whatever you want. Every child wants structure.
Yes.
They might not say that they want structure, but if you look at it, every child wants structure. Even the child that acts out the worst. Like if you ever see a child, I was a football coach, those kids that acted up was one of the best players once you got them on a routine.
Mm-hmm. They just needed more attention.
Exactly. That's
more
it.
attention.
So that's the main thing, is if giving your child structure and to be comfortable to be a child and comfortable to be in their own skin, to develop who they are. Because a lot of times people are so quick to write their kids off as this, but you never even let your child develop and grow into who they are.
Mm-hmm.
I tell my kids, you could be wherever you want to be, but while you're in my house, you're going to follow these simple rules.
Yeah.
Education, being respectful, doing that. But when you leave, you can do whatever you want to go do. That's going to be on you. But at the end of the day, as parents, because a lot of times people blame their kids, and it's like, I don't know how you blame your kids. We have to get to a point where the parent is the person that's helping guide, because you've been here before. They've never been here before. So we should at least be passing down the knowledge, the guidance, the love that we always wanted to our kids, so that they can be better versions of us.
So how important is it to you to apologize to your kids? I always find that it's so important.
It's super important, because that's sometimes all a child wants. There's grown adults just waiting for their mom and daddy to just say, "I'm sorry." And if you ever think about it, most conversations I've had with people, they already forgave about the situation. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about people that's been molested, people that's been beat, people that's been abandoned, people that's had horrible situations. The only thing that they wanted to for validation is, I'm sorry for what happened.
Yep.
That's it. Not sugarcoating, not pushing under the rug. Well, I was back in 1980 something, no. Most grown adults right now just want their parent to say, "I'm sorry that I put you through this. I did the best I can, or I didn't do the best I can." At least just take that L, so that you can build further compared to just trying to be fake and be like, well, that never happened or whatever, because that just makes a person get resentful. Like, I know what happened. You can't tell me what that happened. It happened to me, so I know what happened. Most times they just want, you don't want to make resentful kids. So sometimes you got to say sorry, even if you feel like you shouldn't have to say sorry. But there's times that I'll be like, man, I do need to say sorry for that one. You know what? Let me go apologize. And then there's times where I feel like I shouldn't ever have to apologize in the situation. And I still go apologize because I want them to show that if I could be a parent and show vulnerability of saying I'm sorry, that means when you get older as a parent, you should be able to have that same trait too. So no matter how much I get on your nerves as an older person, you could be like, you know what, Dad, I apologize for, you was getting on my nerves. Because we are the example. The way you treat your parents is exactly the way your kids are going to treat you. Because it's not what you say, it's about what you do. A lot of times we have that horrible stigma saying, do what I say, don't do what I do. Okay. That's cool for a kid until the kid turns grown. And if you treated your mama like crap, then what you think they're gonna treat you, and you the mama?
Yeah.
If you have an estranged relationship with your mother or father, how do you think your kids are going to look to do you?
Yeah.
It's full circle. People do what they see.
Yep.
And if that's the guidelines of how to treat a parent, oh no, I'm gonna have to call. I'm telling you. Everybody wants to call me during this time. So
Look, you popular. I get it. Just two more questions and then I'm going to let you go. I get it. Okay. So, what are 3 things that your kids have taught you being a parent, about being an adult, like just being a person?
Don't estimate them by their age. Patience. And everything doesn't have to go your way. Yes. Those are the 3 things I could say.
Okay, and then the other 3 things are, what are 3 bullet points are 3 favorite things that you would like to tell expecting fathers or current fathers, or fathers that are struggling to actually be in their children's life?
Learn your kid. I think that's the main thing. Learn who your child is, because your child might come from you but might not act like you. So having that unrealistic expectation of how a child should have a respect for you or have, it's earned. We all know respect is universal. From being young to old, respect is universal. If you give that respect to someone, especially someone that's trying to learn their child, they will appreciate that. If you're going to try to do a dictatorship, you're going to lose it, because as soon as they're old enough to be on their own, they're going to be like, dude, I'm good. But the best way to be able to mold a great relationship with your child is to have the respect and trust in each other, that even if you do something they don't like, they trust that you got their best interests at heart. And to be able to be open enough to have the small talk conversations that sometimes just don't make no sense, but it's good for them because at least they know that you're listening, because then they will never hide nothing from you, because they'll at least feel like they can talk to you. So communication, trust, and really figuring out who your child is and how to approach it. Because the way I treat my daughter, I can't treat one of my sons, and even though I have twins, I can't treat this twins the exact same way, because they have totally 2 different personalities. Worship leaders. Check me out every Wednesday on Anointed Radio, and download the Anointed Radio app for 24-hour gospel. If you're tired of the radio and all the foolishness that you hear, go ahead and download the Anointed Radio app, 24-hour gospel, and you can hear my show on every podcast platform, subtitled because Jay-Z be hating.